It's time for our good hands moments presented by Allstate. Baltimore, the Ravens are in good hands with Lamar Jackson. Lamar went off against the Lions for 357 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns. He added another touchdown on the ground in the 38-6 romp. Whose performance was more telling today, the Ravens or the Lions?
Yeah, I got to go with the Ravens. Like, the Lions, they get a week where we can, like, forgive them on the road, whatever. They've been playing really well all season. I feel like what happened out there today, even if the Ravens are better than the Lions, they are not 28-0 at halftime better than the Lions. So, like, there's some extenuating circumstances, and they've built up enough credibility that we'll move off of them. But the Ravens, on the other hand, have been really good all season, despite the fact that they lost 2 games that I thought that they should have won. The Colts game, they definitely should have won because they were going up against Gardner Minshew. They didn't play great in that game, but they had it in hand a couple times. And then that Steelers game, they whooped the Steelers. Like, they just couldn't catch the ball. And I feel like the Ravens today was the best possible scenario in how well their defense played. This is the highest ceiling that they can have offensively. You saw just felt like the first quarter, Lamar Jackson did everything. He did all the Lamar Jackson things that you come to expect, and he also did the things that people say that Lamar can't do. The pocket stuff, well, I guess no one says he can't do them anymore, but people say that's not key to his game, where it is. He made perfect reads when they're attacking the underneath stuff. He goes over the top, attacks the middle of the field. He hit perfect passes downfield, and then he did the athletic stuff, and they went for it on 4th down, which is always something that makes me happy.
Okay, so you laid out the point perfectly, Dominique. I think a lot of people feel this way. You feel this way. I feel this way. It's felt like this is coming, right? Like, the Ravens have been kind of on the cusp of something great. They've had those games that they look like they can move the ball at will, and then maybe they have some drops or some hiccups. They struggle a bit here or there. They get sloppy in the second half. They turn the ball over with a couple of sloppy fumbles. They didn't have that happen today, and that was great. But we're writing off this loss for the Lions as like, oh, it's an aberration. They're going to be just fine. Like, this was just one ugly game. Is the opposite not true for the Ravens? Like, do you believe they are a fundamentally different team and we can put those concerns about them fumbling and being sloppy and finding ways to lose games? Can we throw that aside now because of how they played? Or was just thus a one-week aberration where they delivered on their potential, which is something they typically struggle to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a well-phrased question. I wouldn't say that either of the assertions.
Right,
yeah, I mean, it's outstanding. Either of the assertions are 100% true. The thing is, you framed it the exact way that I would answer it, is that we've seen the Ravens be close all of this time, and then they just tipped over and gave us what we expected and we saw that they were capable of doing. So we have not seen the Lions be shaky and garbage all the time and then suddenly like, all right, see, this is the bad, like, this is not what we're seeing from the Vikings. Like how last year we're like, hey, but the Vikings aren't that good, guys. And then we see this year, hey, see, told you. Or you get to the playoffs, we're like, hey, see, told you, the Vikings aren't that good. So it's different for the Lions. And I think they certainly have weaknesses. The defensive ones were certainly exposed today. The offensive ones, it felt like we didn't have a chance to point to those weaknesses because this was over before it started. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to have these expectations. There's only a couple quarterbacks in the league that I think can bring you back from a deficit like that. And Jared Goff, as good as he's been for the last, I guess, several weeks, including last year, he ain't that dude. He's a play action guy when you have double threats or when you can threaten with the run in the pass and you have a tight end. That's the guy he is. He's not a drop back and bring you back from down 4 touchdowns type of guy.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And that is something that we know is a weakness for this Lions team. It's just been so hard for teams to get that kind of commanding lead that's forced the Lions into situations where they have to throw the ball in their drop back game to catch up. Let me ask you this, though, guys, in terms of what you saw from Lamar today. Like, I think there were plays here where it looked like Todd Monken just had the perfect call lined up. He was in his bag. They had stuff happen. But it also kind of felt like, especially early in this game, the first couple drives, the Ravens were struggling a bit, and Lamar was single-handedly carrying them, over the threshold. To me, this felt like a game where I didn't come away from this thinking, oh, the Ravens offense is clicking on all cylinders, and Todd Monken is one of the best OCs in football. I came away from this game thinking Lamar is playing out of his mind right now.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I think the credit that Todd Monken deserves is not the special stuff. It's putting in Lamar in those positions, because there were opportunities where there was. I think in the first drive of the game, they put him on the edge a bunch of times and didn't ask him to make hard passes. It's simple decisions, run pass options right there. And to whatever degree, getting Lamar comfortable matters. I'm not sure that's as big of a deal as it is signaling to the defense that this is going to be the threat. You're going to have to respect him on the edge. And I think then he goes from there to then calling the plays that are attacking the middle of the field with not the tight end. As much as I like Andrews, he's not a home run hitter. Attacking the middle of the field with Zay Flowers and putting Andrews in the low middle, because he's going to get a lot of attention because he's Lamar's favorite target historically. And that's where I would give Todd Monken credit. It's not that he designed these perfect plays as much as it's the sequencing of the play calling and the way that it challenges the defense. And then when you have a quarterback as good as Lamar Jackson, sometimes he's just going to make things good for you. We talk about that a lot with, or at least I do, for quarterbacks, finding players that will take pressure off the quarterback. It's nice to be able to throw a quick out to somebody that might go to the crib, throw a screen pass, or hand it off. I think it's nice for offensive coordinators to have a quarterback that sometimes is going to run around and make some magic happen for you and buy you some time when you didn't get the perfect call.
So do you buy that any of the teams who were like rushing past one another this spring to say, yeah, we don't want Lamar, we're good? Do you think any of them will watch this game and be like, we up?
No. Football coaches.
We're not at that point yet?
No, football coaches are not that evolved. I think that their fans know that they messed up. I'm certain that we can look at Atlanta and those fans wish they had made a different decision. The thing is, quarterbacks that talented are impossible to come by, or seemingly impossible to come by. They had an opportunity. Lots of teams had an opportunity to go after him, and rather than go after him, they decided that they wanted to respect whatever unspoken bond they had of not raising the price on any of their quarterbacks.
I mean, it's sort of a contract discussion also, but we don't need to get into it because I feel like it's rehashing. All of those teams would be better if Lamar Jackson was their quarterback. Right. But the thing I'm interested about, Bill, is the point that you made of how repeatable this is. Because, can I stat you down for a second?
Stat me down.
Okay. In the first half alone, Baltimore had 9 plays of 20-plus yards. Lamar Jackson in this game was 8 for 11 for 246 yards and a touchdown when under duress. That is more passing yards under duress than he had the entire season coming into this game. How repeatable is that? Is it just going to be, if you blitz Lamar Jackson, he is going to make you pay and have big plays? Or is pressure something that he handled incredibly well today, and that's an aberration?
What do you think, Bill?
Some of that was kind of fluky. Like, there was that check down that went for like 175 yards. Yeah. That's not going to happen every week. You can't count on that. But Lamar had answers when it was really Aiden Hutchinson getting pressure, like snap after snap. Whenever Aiden Hutchinson was on him, Lamar almost always had answers. And I think it was more, not even the yardage, as much as it was just that pressure did not often lead to turnovers. They lost a fumble, I think, on a exchange where they messed up the exchange. But really, yeah, but it wasn't like Lamar got pressured and made a terrible throw, or was holding the ball at a funny angle and dropped it and turned the ball over. Like, to me, it's not even about the yardage. It's about just, can you avoid the terrible plays? Because if this offense stays on schedule, it's so hard to stop.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things come to mind when you ask me that question. One is duress for all quarterbacks is not the same, because you qualify duress, and I think you say the word duress, and I think of a quarterback who's completely panicked. But also, Lamar Jackson moving around in the pocket does not feel like he is out of control. He's under duress. And I think Bill's point about, I think there's a short pass to Justice Hill that went for 80 yards. Yeah. There was a long play to Ricard. Oh, it was Gus Edwards. It's a long play to Ricard that went for a bunch of yards. Those are fluky plays. But what I always kind of hoped for the Lamar Jackson offense, because at one point we thought that blitzing was the way to stop Lamar Jackson.
Right.
And I'd always hoped that he had someone that they would be scared to blitz him because that person was out there. Someone that you can throw a hitch to or a quick out to that might go to the crib. And I think they have that person in Zay Flowers. And so while that may not be the reason why it happens all the time, I think it's a deterrent. And Zay Flowers is capable of doing that one time, breaking a tackle and going 45, 60 yards for a touchdown, and that'll make teams hesitant to blitz. And as much as Lamar's been, or as little help as Lamar has had up until this point, when his receivers are healthy and they decide to catch the ball, it's really nice to have those guys on the team supporting Lamar Jackson.